Hey Tea Crew, and welcome to a brand new episode of Tea Talk with Sha. Today we're going to be getting into all the trending topics all over social media and the internet, and we're also going to be doing a deep dive into PPP loans. What are they? Why so many celebrities got them? And how people ended up trying to defraud the government. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Stay tuned. During these times, you may have stumbled on some free time, and it can honestly be mind-numbing sitting in the house day after day. Well, you can create your own podcast. It's amazing. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's completely free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. That's right, no purchase necessary, no equipment necessary. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast without a minimum listenership. That's right, you don't have to have any minimums for the people that listen to your podcast and still make money, honey. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the Anchor app for free. Go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, Tea Crew, it's been a couple weeks, so let's get right into this hot tea. So the first topic, Porsha Family Matters Brawl. As we all know, Porsha was given a spinoff show after the groundbreaking news that she was engaged to her once co-star Fallon Pena's ex-husband, Simon Guobadia. So after all that happened, Bravo was like, of course, we're going to give you a show because it's about to be a mess. And as we talked about, if you listen to the podcast often, I just feel like this show ended up being a bad look for Porsha. It definitely shows her in a negative light. The timeline is not really that consistent. It seems pretty tight between when she was trying to make it work with Dennis and when Simon got, separated and then divorced, and then Porsha and Simon only having dated for a month before getting engaged. So there was just a lot going on with the timeline there, and it just made for the show to seem kind of like silly and like that they weren't in a real relationship and that they both were just in it for clout. So originally, I think we talked about this also before. The spinoff show that Porsha was supposed to be getting from Bravo centered around her activism and the work that she was doing for Black Lives Matter. After the engagement to Simon, the entire show concept pivoted to include Porsha's family. So now Porsha has gathered all her family members, and in Bravo fashion, they have to go on a trip. Even for a mini series, I guess they just find it more interesting when people are somewhere else besides their own homes. So they have them go on a trip, something like, Candy's ski trip, where her family was always fighting at home. So they just brought them all in one area. So they would always have to be around each other. And it makes it easier for them to film, because think about it, instead of having to go from house to house and different production crews going here, going there, setting up, they can just literally go to the next room over and do all the interviews and do all the filming, and everything is just more concise that way, and especially for COVID, it's probably a lot safer. But anyway, we're talking about the brawl right now. So Storm is Porsha's cousin, and she is the young lady that used to work for Porsha's ex-fiance, Dennis McKinley, and she worked at the Hot Dog Hut, one of the ones that he owned, and she claimed while she was working there, she was sexually harassed by Dennis. Now, the time frame that she worked there, she was about 18 or 19 years old, and that's important to know because she claims And she alleges that Dennis sexually harassed her when she was underage. I'm not really sure how that comes into play when she was 18 or 19 when she started working there, but these are the allegations that she's made against Dennis. Now, there was an altercation at a dinner in Mexico on the show, and you can clearly see, Dennis getting up and lunging at Storm, Portia defending her cousin, and then coming back at Dennis. But what I couldn't see in the clips was whether or not Dennis made any contact with Portia. Now, it was definitely clear that in this clip, anyway, Dennis did not make any contact with Storm. So after the episode aired, Storm made a lot of allegations on her Instagram page. She alleged, like I said, that she was sexually harassed by Dennis when she was working at the hot dog place. She also alleged that Dennis is a pedo. She also alleged that, she showed her cuts and her scratches, that this is something that Dennis did to her and she wasn't going to be silent any longer. After she made those statements on Twitter and then Instagram, she came on Instagram Live and, just doubled down. She reiterated everything she said. She talked to somebody else that was on her live about it, and she was just like, Dennis really put his hands on me. He abused me on camera, and that's her story. Now, Dennis hasn't made a statement, but a lot of the fans noticed that it's hard to tell in the video. And I've watched the video several times trying to prepare, for this episode and just to kind of see what happened. And I didn't see Dennis making any contact. Now, this is the angle that Bravo showed, right? So we're not sure if there were other angles, or you can see if Dennis actually connected and hit Portia, or if he ended up hitting Storm. Now, Storm had some photos of cuts. Her lip was busted. She had cuts on her arm and her sides, and it looks like this may have been just because of the nature of the fight. I mean, I posted it on our Insta story, so if you're following us, Tea Talk with Sha, you can see the clip there. But it looks like what happened was Storm got kind of caught up in the situation, in the fight. When a fight breaks out, sometimes you get pushed, shoved, scratched, because people are trying to get to each other so bad. So I think that's what ended up happening to Storm, because I really can't see how Dennis would have been close enough to hit Storm. Now, Dennis was close enough to hit his ex-fiance Portia, and I don't know if other angles would have shown that Dennis made contact with her. But it's worth noting, and this is just a fact, that Dennis was not arrested in Mexico. Now, the family has alleged that through Twitter that they tried to get Dennis brought up on charges in Mexico for allegedly attacking Storm and putting his hands on Storm and causing her injuries. But I guess, for lack of evidence or whatever their reasoning was, the Mexican authorities did not press charges against Dennis, and he was not arrested in Cancun. So, that's just a fact. And I believe that something happened. You can tell something happened from the video. I just don't know if this is Portia's attempt to try to get rid of Dennis so she can have her perfect life with Pilar and Simon, or if she really feels like it was just out of control and she just doesn't, she thinks that he should be arrested for his actions. I don't really know what to make of this. I mean, tensions are definitely high, right? Just a few months before getting engaged to Simon, Portia was asking Dennis to give her ring back and for them to start over, and work towards their relationship and their engagement. So there's definitely some hard feelings there. And Portia's there with Simon and Dennis is there having to watch whatever's going on between them. So I think it was just like a powder keg, and it was only a matter of time before something popped off. Now, I will say it is never right for a man, especially a man of Dennis's age, to ever lunge at a woman or even try to swing on somebody that, is a woman or something like that. That is completely inappropriate. And Dennis knows he needs to check himself after doing something like that, but I can see that tensions were high. So I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to get out of this show, but it just keeps getting worse and worse, in my opinion. It's just like the ghetto. Like, you want to be taken serious as an author. You know, Portia has left her other jobs to focus on being a mother to Pilar, a fiance to Simon, and just overall building her brand. But I just feel like this show is not doing that for her. That's just my opinion. I would love to see you guys in the comments. Let me know what you think. Is this show good for Portia? Any attention is good attention. She's all over the blogs all the time now because of this show. Or is this show just bringing attention to some of the, dirtier, darker parts of her life that may be bad for her brand? I don't know, but I would love to see your comments below. So let me know what you think. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Antonio Brown, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had an outburst at yesterday's game. So the Jets v Bucks game happened yesterday on Sunday, and y'all forgive me, my wheelhouse is not sports. That is the job of our lovely sports analyst, JRob, who will be on this podcast after these trending topics. But we got to get into this because there's a little bit of tea that's here, so we got to get to the tea. So forgive my sports knowledge. But anyway, the Jets versus Bucks game yesterday. And for whatever reason, he was benched. God knows, don't ask me if it was for playing or whatever he wasn't doing, but he was put on the bench. After he was benched, he took his jersey off and began to have a full meltdown on the sidelines. He was then ejected from the game, of course, and then the Bucks released him. Now, it seems like the conspiracy allegedly is that Brown was very close to reaching a bonus in catches, or sometimes in football, based on your performance, you can get bonuses, like monetary bonuses for the performance that you give on the field. So it looks like in this case, Brown was very, very close to receiving one or two of the bonuses that were kind of laid out in his contract that he would get if he performed these certain tasks on the field during the regular season. So he was very close to receiving, I think, almost over $1 million in bonuses, because it was like over 300,000 per different activity that he was supposed to do, like catches, running, different yards and stuff like that. So he had three possible bonuses on the line, and all three would have equaled almost $1 million if he would have gotten all three bonuses. So I think that's why that's what people are saying. That's why he was so upset to be taken out of the game, because obviously if you're out of the game, you can't run those yards, you can't make those catches in order to get the bonus. And people are also saying it could have been possible CTE. We talked about CTE in the past with the Aaron Hernandez trial, and it's just like you get into a situation of, is it even moral or right for people to be banging into each other the way they do every Sunday, Thursday, and Monday? But people, especially in America here, we love football. Shout out to our international listeners. I know you guys call football soccer, but I'm talking about American football here, where people are tackling, and head injuries are quite common. And some people think that it's a head injury that's causing Antonio Brown to behave this way. He had a lot of issues last year with his now fiance, or the domestic violence situations where the same thing was being alleged. So it looks like Brady came to the defense. Tom Brady came to the defense of his former his former teammate. Sorry, y'all. And he basically said, we got to have compassion for him. He's obviously going through something. And I don't know if this is a statement that Brady wrote himself or if somebody else wrote this statement, but I feel like it was spot on. I mean, we obviously don't know the situation, why he behaved the way he did, or if he just had a reaction based on head trauma. Like, we don't know what's going on with him, and it's easy to judge, but it's obvious that he got released from the team. Now he doesn't have a job, and he's already kind of facing all these like instabilities, and he's not as young as he used to be. So there's a lot of things that are going on with Antonio Brown right now, and I think, it's always nice to move in a way of compassion, especially when there's a mental illness that could be at play. You just never know. Um, yeah, so that's that. Wishing the best for Antonio. Hope we can get to the root of what's causing these issues and move on and, get help and move on from the situation. All right, let's go to the next topic. Halle Berry. I'm sorry, not Halle Berry, not yet. Oops. Haley Bailey and DDG were spotted together at the Usher concert. So DDG is a rapper. He's also a YouTuber that specializes in like vlogs and different content like that. And Haley is the other part of Haley and Chloe, but now they've gone separate, to do their own things. So they were spotted out on a date last night going to the Usher show. I guess it was supposed to be low key, but fans spotted them, cuddled up together watching the show. And then once the cat was out of the bag, Usher posted a picture of them backstage after the show. So that could be a new flirt alert. We got to keep an eye on that. And now, the story I was thinking I was about to go into. Halle Berry trolls the gram for New Year's. So, Halle Berry has been dating Van Hunt for a while now. They're a pretty cute couple, very age appropriate. We stan. We love to see it. Um, and they were holding hands in like what looked like a wedding ceremony, and Halle made the caption, "It's official." But if you swipe to the next picture, it says it's 2022. So she was trying to get people. So when people first saw the picture and she said it's official, they were like, "Oh my gosh, she got married. They got married on New Year's. How cute, how romantic." But if you were to slide to the second picture, you could see that it says it's official 2022, like that it's officially a new year, not that it's official that she's married. So she definitely trolled a lot of people. The girls were in their feelings about getting trolled. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. Honestly, I think that after having to pay alimony to Eric Benet, and then having to pay some type of child support payments to her child's father, I don't think that she'll ever get into a situation where she'll be married again and owe somebody that type of money again, unless she gets a prenup. She could always get a prenup and things would be different. But I think that ultimately we've seen the end of Halle Berry hitting the aisle, but you just never know. Maybe it's possible. All right, the next topic. Taraji P. Henson was trending after Lamar Odom went on in detail about their previous relationship. Now, this was a mess. This to me, and I posted this on our Instagram too, certain things you should just take to the grave. Why Lamar Odom thought he needed to go into this is beyond me, but let's get into it. So, Taraji and Lamar Odom previously dated, which is something I didn't know. And he wanted to move to LA to be closer to her. And then he started a relationship with Khloe Kardashian. Now, he does kind of take accountability. He talks about how he was a loser and how he didn't have his priorities straight, and he wasn't man enough to tell Taraji that he was now in love with another woman, which was Khloe Kardashian, and that he wanted to be with her. And, Taraji had thought he had moved out there to be with her. So it was just kind of like a messy situation. Taraji, of course, has not commented, but I'm sure that Lamar, she wishes Lamar would just left the past in the past. And this is just yet another blow for Khloe. She has had the situation with Tristan and his newborn son that he's in court, dealing with now. And so this is just another thing where people are constantly saying the Kardashians are known for stealing men. And they are. They definitely are. I mean, you could just go back. Those are just facts. You can just go back historically and see, people, most of the people that they start dating were already in a relationship when they started dating them, which is just, kind of their MO at this point, but I just don't know for the life of me why Lamar would bring that up. I'm like, yeah, you got to tell your truth, but sir, this was completely unnecessary. Why would you do that? But we stand Taraji not commenting. What is there to say? Yes, I was in a relationship with him. Yes, it ended. I guess I don't even know if she was aware that that's why he ended the relationship to be with Chloe, or she found out in a few weeks when Chloe got married to Lamar. Because if you guys just know the history of their relationship or whatever the case was, Chloe and Lamar got married like 8 weeks after dating. So she probably found out when Chloe and Lamar got married that he was now in a relationship with her. So just the ghetto. It's the ghetto for me. And last but not least, TV legend and ally Betty White dies at 99, just days short of her 100th birthday. Y'all know I love me some Betty White. I was very torn up to see this news. She was just an icon, a special woman. Her comedic timing was legendary. She was so funny, so gracious, and just alive and kicking, working till the last months of her life. I think she was working on a People featurette about being 100 and working in this industry at the time of her death. Netflix has a good movie out about her that came out last year. So if you're interested in her career or some of the stuff she did early on before Golden Girls and all of that, that is in that documentary. And I also just kind of wanted to shine a light on some of her allyship. Betty White had a variety show. I think it was the late 50s, early 60s. And in the variety show, back then they would have people perform and like tap dance, tell jokes, sing. It was kind of like, the host would sit there and go through the different guests, but the different guests were really like the entertainment portion of the show. I guess you have to kind of look and see like what a variety show is, if that's not making sense, but it was like a different show format that was really popular back in the day. And she had a black tap dancer on the show named Arthur Duncan. And, the producers and stuff were like, yeah, we don't really want to see you, Betty, a white woman interacting with a black man for so long on screen and stuff like that. And we just don't think you should have him on the show. And Betty went on to have him on the show more often. I think he was a tap dancer and she had him tap more often on the show. She just enjoyed having him there and he was extremely talented. And, shortly after she made that judgment call against the network's wishes at the time, the show was canceled. And, Betty kind of missed out on that opportunity by doing the right thing. So she just had a long career of just win after win after win, but it's just, goes without saying she was able to do it and still be a person of integrity, a person that did what, she thought was right, no matter what other people told her to think and stuff like this. So, we stand a queen, and rest in peace, Betty White. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our sports report after a short break.
Hello out there, and welcome to the Sports Update with JRob. Today I will be covering news and notes from the NFL. So let's start with some NFL news. NFL Hall of Famer John Madden has passed away at the age of 85. John Madden won a Super Bowl as a coach and was an amazing broadcaster. Also, Dan Reeves has passed away at the age of 77. Dan Reeves won a Super Bowl as a player and made many Super Bowl appearances as a head coach. Now let's dive into the action from week 17 in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Washington football team. The Eagles defense shut out the Washington football team in the second half. The Cincinnati Bengals upset the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals have now clinched the AFC North. The Chicago Bears defeated the New York Giants. The Bears defense only allowed the Giants to convert 1 out of 11 third downs. The Los Angeles Rams beat the Baltimore Ravens. The Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp had 6 receptions for 95 yards and 1 touchdown. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the New York Jets. Buccaneers tight end Rob Gronkowski had 7 receptions for 115 yards. The Las Vegas Raiders beat the Indianapolis Colts. The Raiders kept their playoff hopes alive by going on the road and getting the victory. They must beat the Chargers next week to get into the playoffs. The New England Patriots blew out the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Patriots beat the Jaguars by 40 points and secured a playoff berth in the process. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Atlanta Falcons. Bills running back Devin Singletary had 23 carries for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Green Bay Packers blew out the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers clinched the #1 seed in the NFC with the victory. The Tennessee Titans embarrassed the Miami Dolphins. The Titans have now clinched the AFC South for the second straight season. The New Orleans Saints beat the Carolina Panthers. The win keeps the Saints in the playoff hunt. The San Francisco 49ers defeated the Houston Texans. The 49ers can clinch a playoff berth by beating the Rams next week. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Dallas Cowboys. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray passed for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Denver Broncos. The Chargers must beat the Raiders next week to clinch a playoff berth. The Seattle Seahawks blew out the Detroit Lions. The Seahawks running back Rashad Penny had 25 carries for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers are still alive in the playoff hunt. And this has been the Sports Update with JRob. Have an amazing week.
All right, T Crew, let's get into this deep dive. Now, the deep dive is my favorite part of the podcast. This is where I dive into something that's on my mind or that I want to shed a light on. So let's get into it. Today, we're talking about PPP loans, and we're also talking about some examples of PPP loan fraud and why so many people are getting caught up in this fraud. So, first, let's talk about what a PPP loan is. It's a paycheck protection program that the government came up with in light of COVID-19 and the devastation that it was causing on specifically small businesses and people that employed others that were not going to be able to do that because of the pandemic. So obviously, the pandemic came around in March of 2020. Everything was shut down at that time, and people with small businesses had employees that they had to pay. They had expenses for their businesses that they had to cover, and without the income coming in because things were locked down, especially if your business was not considered essential, you were not able to do any kind of work at that time. And then things slowly started to open around July and June of 2020. So, roughly about 3 to 4 months of no work, depending on your industry. So the PPP loan program was put in place to give low interest loans to business owners to enable them to kind of bridge the gap in the paychecks so that people could keep their paychecks coming in and keep businesses open and kind of, make sure that the economy was not collapsing because of the government shutdown. All right, so some celebrities that received these loans but did not defraud the government. I want to make that clear. These people did not defraud anyone. They just received a PPP loan. Khloe Kardashian, Khloe has her own clothing company, and she's also has like a media company. People that work for her while she does her public appearances, hair and makeup, styling, and such. So she has a team of people that she employs to do this kind of work. And during COVID, this was definitely not happening. So she had to find a way to pay these people without money coming in. So Khloe Kardashian got a PPP loan. Reese Witherspoon got one. She owns a production company. I think we talked about this. She produced the Hulu show Little Fires Everywhere, but she also specializes in women written scripts and just like a women owned producing house that works with mainly women casts, with women writers, women directors, women lighting people, and she has a production company that specializes in employing women in film and movies. So, film, movies, and TV. That's what I was trying to say. So she took the loan for those purposes. Kanye West also took out a PPP loan. He has his clothing company as well as entertainment company, and he also has his own record label, Good Music. So within that, he has employees that he would have to pay. Jay-Z as well has employees. He owns Tidal, the music streaming companies, other companies. So basically, the whole thing I'm trying to say is when you own a company and you have to make payroll for your employees, it's appropriate to use the PPP loan funds for that. And as it clearly states, when, in the PPP, when you're filing for it, as long as the money is used for the business expense that is specified in the loan request, the borrower can make use of low interest rates that are provided in these loans. So you would say, like, why would somebody like Jay-Z, who's very rich and married to Beyonce, who's also very rich and wealthy, why would they need a PPP loan? Well, it's honestly money that you can get at a very low interest rate. So you don't have to use your own money. So it just kind of like frees your money up to do other things while you use this government money that you can pay back, very easily. In celebrities' cases, not always all small business owners' cases, but in celebrity cases, they can go ahead and pay that money back easily, but keep a low interest rate. So that's a reason why they would use government money versus their own, even when, they're tons wealthy and rich. All right, so let's get into the fraud portion of this. So obviously, whenever money is flowing, whenever, something is going on, and it's worth mentioning that a lot of people did have to request for these loans, but that the requests were not being viewed that heavily because of the need to get the money out and for people to be able to live their lives and have their items in order. So it's definitely something that, quickly was sent out. You just fill out the form, get the money, fill out the form, get the money. So it was very quick. And I think when people realized the process was so quick, they started to really take advantage of the system. So that's where the fraud came into place because people were just like, oh, this money is flowing. I can live my lavish lifestyle without having to cut back because of the pandemic. Sign me up. So Pretty Ricky, the R&B group, Baby Blue, misused funds. And he was sentenced to 20 months in jail. Now, my thought process for this is that Pretty Ricky was signed up to do another Millennium Tour. Omarion has put together, for those that don't know, a Millennium Tour of the boy groups from the new Millennium, B2K, Pretty Ricky, Ying Yang Twins. They had Ashanti this year, Sammy, all the people that were hot in the early 2000s, right? So they have now made a tour franchise and Pretty Ricky is part of it. So I feel like Baby Blue probably thought, okay, when the tour picks back up, I'll be able to pay back this loan, no problem, and it'll float me while, we're not touring, while all live shows have been shut down, so we cannot continue the tour right now. So this will help me, to get over the hump, basically. But this money was not for that. This money was for paychecks, paying other people their paychecks. That's what this was for. And so he didn't use it for those purposes. And now he's going to jail for 20 months. And it's where he's already been sentenced. So that's pretty much it. And then another person who misused the funds was ex-Olympian Allison Braver. Now, Allison Braver claimed to have a production company that she needed to, get the PPP loan for so she could go out and pay her employees, when in actuality, she used the $10 million loan to fund and invest in a low-budget Christian film. So this is just so bizarre to me. So this ex-Olympian is actually from Reading, Pennsylvania. She was a speed skater in the Winter Olympics, and I guess she was propositioned to do a movie. Now, when she was asked to do the movie, I guess she was asked to put in, a certain amount of money, and then she would get back on her return a certain percentage. So, she helped get the movie made for 10 million. So just to say, and then, the movie ends up grossing like 12 or 15 million. So she ends up making some money on the back end for her investment. Now, they came to her telling her, in COVID, like people are going to need a Christian movie to uplift them, get their spirits up. A lot of people will be coming to view this movie, or, they were going to release it to a digital platform where people would have to pay to view the movie. So they just basically told her that she was going to make a lot of money. And so she took out the PPP loan and gave them this amount. And it was discovered later that it was obviously fraud and that she was not using the money to pay payroll for anybody, that she was actually just using the money to invest and make money for herself. So she has not been sentenced yet, but she definitely has been caught. And so her sentencing will probably take place shortly. I just think this whole situation is just so crazy. Even to the celebrities that are using the loans to get a lower interest rate, it's just like the amount of people that applied for these loans, small businesses that really could have used these funds to keep their businesses afloat, that had to close their doors because they just weren't able to manage it. And then for people that obviously could have used their own personal funds, and probably it wouldn't have been, much of an issue for them to use their own personal funds, didn't have to, because they have access to lawyers and preparers and assistants and people that can prepare the paperwork perfectly and for them to get their money right away, versus other people who had trouble filling it out or just didn't meet the requirements for whatever reason, that really needed the money and their businesses ended up closing. And it's sad. It definitely just goes to show like who gets preferential treatment in our society. Always celebrities, right? Always people with money who already have money. It's just like people that need money would need it more, but I don't know. And it also just shows, you have to be careful when the government is giving out money, because nothing is free. So please just be careful. I know there was another unemployment scam. I might do a deep dive on that and just talk about how people were doing the unemployment scam to get the extra $400 a week that unemployment was providing during the pandemic. So I might go into that later. But the government is definitely coming after all y'all that did stuff like that. So you have to be very, very careful, because you just never know, who's watching. And especially like every time you spend money, there's digital footprint. So they can always see what you're spending money on, even if you take out cash, like you're not safe. Just saying. But this has been today's deep dive, guys. Stay tuned for our outro comments. All right, T Crew, this is my least favorite part of the podcast, where I have to say goodbye to you all. I just want to thank you all for listening and sharing the podcast and being part of our little community. By way of announcements, we have a new YouTube page. It's under the name Tea Talk with Sha. It's all over our Instagram. The link is there. The link is also on our Facebook page on the same name, Tea Talk with Sha, so you can find it there. So go head over to our YouTube for shorts. I'm going to have some interviews on there coming up in this new year, so definitely stay tuned for that and get subscribed. And as always, arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. We won't stop until she gets the justice that she rightly deserves. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I love you for listening. Bye.